Alright, welcome back guys. This is TJ and today I have 10 crops that you can start indoors to get a head start on your growing season, and come early springtime, you'll have a good head start on your season. Now, some of these are going to be, they're in the same family, but they're different crops, so I have them included just because they're not the exact same variety or plant. So we're going to start off here first with lettuce. Lettuce is a great seed to start indoors just to get a jump on your growing season. Now I will start lettuce now, and then in a couple weeks I'll do some more, and then maybe we'll do a little bit more a couple weeks after that, and then that way I am succession planting. When it comes to lettuce, you don't want to have them all at once and then you're going to be harvesting all your lettuce at once, but we don't want that. We want to have it over a period of time so we can keep making salads or whatever you do with your lettuce. And then when it comes down to the soil outside being workable, I will also plant seeds directly into the soil. That way I have a consecutive harvest of lettuce. You can see here, I did already sow these lettuce seeds. This is bronze mignonette lettuce. Make sure you have your markers. And also with lettuce, they do need light to germinate, so you don't want to bury them really deep and they won't get any light and you'll have a poor germination rate. But we'll go through here. I'll show you how to plant them. This is a purple fusion lettuce. So, you get a lot of lettuce seeds, so you don't really have to worry about using too many. I kind of get them here in the packet like that. Then I will just sprinkle some on. I'll go 4 or 5 seeds. I'm not too worried about how many. I will thin them down. But yeah, you just want to make sure you get on there enough in there. You want them to germinate. You don't want to put one seed and be sitting there waiting for the germination and it never comes, because you'll just be wasting your time. So purple fusion lettuce. So the crop number 1 is lettuce. Now for reference, I started lettuce seeds February 24th last year. So I am starting them a little early. It's January 29th today. Mostly because I want to have some prop plants. But in the end, I will be able to put this lettuce outside. I'm not worried about that. If the temperatures aren't quite right or the soil isn't warm enough, I got a little greenhouse, I'll put them in there. If we get cold nights, really cold nights, I'll pull them in. So it's not that big of a deal. But some of the other crops I'm going to show you, it's going to be iffy, and even a few that I'm not even going to be able to use for this growing season. But I'm going to do it anyways just to give you guys a head start. I don't want to be planting them right when I need to, and then you guys are falling behind. Now, if you are south of me, you might be doing this already. If you're north of me, you might have a little bit of time. But after I put in my seeds, I'll just kind of work them into the soil very lightly, not too far. Like I said, they need light to germinate. So I just kind of work them in, get them a little bit under the soil, and that is good enough. And put your markers in. Now this is all 6 of these is purple fusion, so I could simply put 1 tag. The reason I don't is because when I pop them out into the garden, I usually use these tags to do that. So you put them in there and you got them all good, and that is your lettuce. So we'll put these here, put these to the side. So crop number 1 is lettuce. Let's move over to crop number 2, and that is going to be kale. Now this is a dwarf curled Vates kale. I grew this in the fall and it did really well. It's still out in the garden right now, and I'd like to do these guys 6 to 8 weeks still. Me starting them at this time is actually not too bad of an idea. Kale is very cold hardy, so you don't have to worry about too much of that. If the soil is workable, you can get these guys out. I like to see at least 4 to 6 leaves on my kale starts before I get them outside. And again, remember, you do have to factor in a hardening off process. You know, if you're going to grow them inside on their grow lights, they're going to need to be acclimated to the outside temperatures, the wind, the sun, all that stuff. So don't forget about that. Now, kale, similar to broccoli, cauliflower, the seeds, I do that a little differently. I'm just going to go about a 1/2 inch down, and I will do 2 seeds each one. Again, I will thin these down to just 1. Any big pieces I like to work out, especially for these young seedlings. You don't need big bark pieces in there. So I'm just going to do 3 cells of the kale. There you go. So that's 6 total seeds, 3 cells I will thin down. Get your markers, put them in. And then, like I said, just cover them up a little bit. And I do 2 seeds, like I said, just because I want to make sure that I get germination from one of the seeds. Okay, there you go. Crop number 2, kale. Crop number 3, kind of similar to lettuce, is ENDIVE. Now, and this is a Batavian full heart ENDIVE. ENDIVE, I think, is a great crop. They can be a little bitter, but they do pretty well with the cold as well. Again, 6 to 8 weeks for these guys as well, plus the hardening off process. And it's kind of similar to lettuce, but they're a little bit bigger, so I don't worry about sprinkling them in. I will just do that by hand. So again, 2 seeds. And another thing I'm going to mention, you can do 2 seeds in 1 hole. I mean, that's entirely up to you. But for me, I like to do 2 separate holes close to the center. That way, it's just my preference, you know. It's completely up to you. Make sure they're getting them in the holes. And again, this is about 1/4 inch deep, similar to the lettuce. There you go. Then we'll put our markers in. And that is crop number 3, ENDIVE. Now, I already had these all filled out, you know, so obviously that takes a little bit of time. But you can see, you can go through all this pretty quickly and get a nice flat, this is a 10-20 tray of seeds planted in no time. All right. Number 4 is spinach. This is a lizard F1 spinach, and if you remember from my previous video, this is supposed to be a pretty tolerant plant or a variety of spinach to the heat, so it's less likely to bolt early on. And again, I've had issues with that. You know, if you live in an area where you get a spring and temperatures tend to rise a little bit quicker than you'd like, your spinach might bolt. So we'll try this one out and hopefully that works. And the spinach is 6 to 8 weeks. I like to keep indoors. Again, hardening off process. Last year I sowed them 224, so similar to my lettuce. So I'm going to try and get them out about the same time. For spinach, you go 1/2 inch deep. Seeds are a little bigger. So there, you just make your holes. Now I'm doing a full flat of spinach here, or full 6 self-tray. That's just because I like spinach, and also the fact that I am starting these kind of close to when I would normally, even though some of these are prop plants. So there's your spinach seeds. I don't know if you can see that, but they are much bigger than lettuce. So drop them in. And if they don't go down as far as you want, you can poke them down a little bit. But again, you don't have to worry about the depth too much for most seeds. You know, you can just get them in there. You know, lettuce obviously needs light to germinate, so you don't want to get them very deep, or that's going to cause issues in the germination process. But spinach is a great crop for the spring. And again, if you have trouble with the heat coming too quickly, you know, starting them indoors to get a head start is a very good option. You know, you don't want to plant the seeds outside and then, you know, the heat comes too quick and you just don't get a good harvest of spinach. So that is a lot of the reason why I start seeds for spring indoors. You know, you want to get a head start, obviously, but also the heat and the length of your spring makes a big difference. So you need to, you know, be aware of your area and how your weather is, and if you think it's a good option to do that. So that's number 4. Let's get over here. We got a couple right here we're going to be doing. And number 5 will be arugula. This is a Roquette arugula. Arugula kind of has a little spicy taste, some might say, but overall, it's a very good cold tolerant plant. Kind of a, maybe spicy isn't the right word, peppery maybe would be a better word. Now with my arugula, I like to plant these guys more like 2 to 4 weeks before I get them outside. They do grow pretty quickly, so I don't like to start them too early. They're pretty small seeds as well, so I'll do 1, 2. For arugula here, I'm going to do 2 seeds per hole. There you go. So I'm just going to do 1 cell, like I said, because they are getting started a little earlier than I would like with how they grow. Most likely these guys might not work out, and that's okay. Like I said, these are prop plants, just to give you guys some ideas of what to plant indoors for spring. I'll be planting more and more and more, so it's not a big deal. Okay, crop number 6. You might hear some different information about this, but my number 6 crop is beets. This is a Detroit dark red beet. Okay, so the information you might hear about beets is that you can't start them, you know, indoors and transplant them into the garden. Now, I would beg to differ. I've done this before, and it works very well. If you go to the nursery, you're going to see beet transplants there that you can buy and put into the garden. So you most definitely can grow beets indoors and transplant them outside. Now, the main reason that I plant them indoors is because when the soil gets, you know, workable and you want to put your beet seeds in, I've noticed from my experience that they take a very, very long time to germinate. So I'm sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting for my beets to pop up. So by planting them indoors, you're going to eliminate that. When the temperature's right, soil is right, you can pop them out in the garden, and you're going to have a head start on your beets. Now that is just personal experience. You know, I suggest you try it out. Try to start them indoors and transplant them and see how it works for you. Another thing about beets seeds is actually a pod, and it's going to be hard to see, but there's multiple seeds in the pod, so you're going to get multiple beets popping up. You can thin them out. With beets, I go about a 1/2 inch. I just want to show you also that you can use anything to make your holes. You know, I got an old toothbrush, I got a pen. I mean, it does not matter whatsoever. So again, 1/2 inch deep. I will still put 2 holes, again, just to bump up my germination rate. I mean, this is a value pack of beets. I mean, I got a ton of beet seeds. I won't even be able to use them all probably before they go bad, so I'm not worried about that. So just start making your hole 1/2 inch deep, and then when the time comes, you can thin them down. Or if you feel like potting them up, you can maybe try to break them off, you know, rip them apart and get more than 1 seed. The pods are pretty big, so they're very easy to plant. Get a couple more here. Drop them in. Stick them together. That's okay, we'll still drop it in. And I'll just push them down a little bit, about a 1/2 inch. Again, you don't have to be too scientific with your depth. And cover them up. So yeah, I do encourage you to give it a shot growing beets from seed indoors and then popping them in the garden. I think you'll have good success with that. I think you'll have a good head start on your beet season, and you won't be sitting there waiting for your beet seeds to germinate like I have in the past. So number 6, beets. And I do 6 to 8 weeks, you know, just like everything else, including the hardening off process. I know I've said that already, but the hardening off process is very important. So number 7, crop number 7 is peas. Now this is a Mammouth melting sugar snow pea. Tried this last year for the first time. It does really well. Now with peas, it's going to be a little different. I'm not going to get these in the garden because they're just going to be way too early, so I'm not worried about the size of the cell that I'm planting them in, because I know that I'm not going to actually transplant them in the garden. It's just too early for peas. Peas can take a frost, you know. The flowers and the pea pods itself cannot take a frost, so it's a fine line. You kind of have to, you know, experiment. You want to get them out growing early because they also don't like really hot temperatures, so you got to find the happy medium there. But for peas, I would certainly suggest, give me a second, grab one of these. I would certainly suggest starting them in a larger container, you know, 3-inch, 2-inch, whatever the case may be, but you want them to be in a bigger container because they're going to grow very quick on you. For this video purpose, I'm just going to put them in here, and I'm just going to put 1 seed because, like I said, I'm not going to end up getting these out in the garden. So you're going to do 1/2 inch is what I like to do. And you can even 1/2 inch, but you can go 3/4. You can even go to 1 inch. You know, if I'm going to put them in here, I'd go 1 inch deep. So I'm going to put these in and we'll talk about them a little bit. You all know what pea seeds look like. Just plop them in. They're very big. Put them in. We'll cover them up. Now, I like to do my peas a couple different ways. And that is because of how quickly they grow. You know, I will either start them in here, let them pop up, maybe grow for a couple days, maybe to a week, and then I will get them right outside into my greenhouse and let them grow from that point on outside in the greenhouse. You know, if you only let them in there for a couple days to a week inside, they're not going to really need a hardening off process because they're not really used to growing under these conditions, which are more ideal than being outside. So I'll do that where I let them grow a little bit, a couple days to a week after they germinate, and put them right outside. Now, if I don't do that, I will let them in here for about 2 weeks. Then I'll harden them off for that 3rd week, and then I'm getting them right in the ground. So they're going to grow quick on you. You can do either way. I tend to like to let them grow for a little bit, a couple days to a week, and get them right out to the greenhouse. Let them grow out there for 2 weeks and put them right into the garden. And again, you're going to want to start them in a much bigger cell than this. I suggest 3-inch, 2-inch, whatever the case may be, but you want a bigger container because they're going to grow very quick on you. When I'll show you eventually when these grow, they're going to outgrow this container very quickly, and they're just not going to do very well. But for this purpose, and just letting you guys know, I just put them in here again because it's way too early for me to start my pea seeds. I'm not going to be able to get them in the garden, so these are just kind of definitely a prop plant. These are the ones that I'm not going to be able to transplant out. So peas, definitely want to get some peas in your garden. If you haven't grown your own peas, delicious, awesome time picking them. If you got kids, they like to pick them with you. If you're shelling peas, you know, you can break them apart, get the peas out. These are a sugar snow pea, so you can just eat the whole thing. Okay, guys, so the next 3 crops that you can start indoors to get a head start on the spring season is going to be cauliflower, broccoli, and cabbage. Now, again, these guys are all in the same family. They're all very similar to, you know, start by seed, but I like to keep them separate because they are very different, you know, crops. They're all going to be the same. You're going to go 1/2 inch deep. The seeds are all going to be very similar looking, very similar to kale. And for me, in my area, like I said, how spring tends to get warmer and warmer and warmer, and then we get some summer-like temperatures, and the brassicas are not going to like that. So it is an absolute must for me to start my broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbage seeds indoors because I need to get that head start so that way when I can get them outside, when the temperatures are right, they're going to have a 6 to 8 week start. They're going to have a nice sized plant, and it's going to give you the best opportunity to get a nice harvest of your cabbage, cauliflower, and broccoli. You know, if I would pop these right into the ground when temperatures are right or right before, you know, they might sit there by the time they germinate, you know, and get growing. I'm just going to get too warm of temperatures and it's not going to work out. Even with me starting them indoors, it is pretty much a guarantee that I will get them under shade cloth at some point, especially if we get some warm temperatures before I would like to. Last year I started all these on February 10th, so they are pretty close to the time that I would start them. I'll plant these, and I'm obviously going to plant a lot more, you know, around that date again. But for this purpose, we'll do some right now. And personally, for me, I do like to start these in a bigger container, like a 2-inch pot, just so that I do not have to pot them up. Now, you don't mind potting up, you can start them in this size. You know, and you go to the greenhouse, you're going to get them in a similar size of this. It's going to be a little bit bigger. So if you have a bigger container than this, that'll work, or you can do a 2-inch pot. I mean, that's up to you. I tried to avoid potting up. I just don't think it's necessary unless I'm growing like way, you know, a lot of seeds, which I do start a lot of seeds, but of the same kind I do not. And I have plenty of space to plant with the bigger container. So here we got a cauliflower. This is SnowBall Self-blanching. Very nice looking cauliflower. Again, 1/2 inch deep. Seeds are going to look identical to each other. And I will put 2 seeds per hole. 1, 2. And 1, 2. And I will do 2 cells of that. So in the end, maybe I pot these up. You know, maybe they will be fine how they are. You know, you're gonna want to look, you know, when you start seeing roots coming out of here on the bottom, you're gonna start knowing that it's getting too big for this size container, and you're gonna want to pot up. So I combat that by starting in a bigger container and just avoid having to pot up. Now there's so many good cauliflowers out there. Try a couple different kinds. If you've seen my seed haul video, I was telling you that Fedco was taking a long time to ship my seeds. They finally did ship, and in that seed order, there's a lot of broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbage, different kinds that I want to try. So luckily enough, it did take a long time, which is disappointing, but I got them soon enough that I'm going to be able to start them on time. So number 9 is cabbage. This is a red Acre. I've grown this multiple times. A very good cabbage. Grows very well. It's early maturing, 75 to 90 days. I think in my Fedco order, I got some early Jersey Wakefield, which I'm excited to try. I got some Melissa Savoy, which is a very good one. If you've never tried that before, I suggest you do. So I just got more varieties than what I have on hand here. And I'm just going to use the red Acre because I do want to get some of these started, and I will plant more eventually. So 2 seeds per hole, about a 1/2 inch deep. Cover them up. And I forgot to put it in the other one, so let's grab the seed packet again. Now there's many seeds you can start indoors for the springtime, early spring. These are just some of my favorites that I always end up starting indoors. Something like carrots and, you know, radishes and, you know, many other ones I direct sow. Carrots definitely do not like to be transplanted. I do not suggest trying to transplant them. Radishes, there's really no need to start radishes from seed indoors because they grow so quickly. You know, some of them can be ready to harvest in 30 days. So there's really no point to start them indoors. I've direct sow them as soon as the ground's workable, the soil temperature's right, and they grow just fine. Now the last one, number 10. Crop number 10 is broccoli, and this is a Gypsy F1 broccoli. Now this Gypsy broccoli does pretty well. I grew this last year. I did get a couple broccoli packets in my Fedco order. I'm not sure why, but it seems like a lot of my spring crops I did get from Fedco. So I am very happy that they finally came in. But that order took a month to get to my house. So keep that in mind if you decide to order from Fedco. I don't know if that was, you know, if that's typical of them or what. In the past, I don't remember it taking that long. But if you're in a pinch and you forgot to order seeds, or you're like, oh, I'm going to order a different variety of cabbage or something, you might not want to order from them because they might take a little too long to get to you. Now again, all these 6 to 8 weeks indoors, harden them off, and you will have a great jump on your growing season for broccoli, cabbage, and cauliflower. And like I said, for me, I absolutely have to start them indoors, or you can get them from the nursery as transplants. That is a good option as well if you don't have space to start indoors. But you got to get them started, because at least where I am, the season changes too quickly, and I want to get a nice head of broccoli or nice looking cabbage. I got to start them indoors. So there you have it. 10 different crops you can start indoors to get a head start, so that when spring comes, early spring comes, you're going to have nice transplants to put into your garden. So thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions on the crops, I will list them down below, but just give me a comment and ask away, and I'm open to listen. And again, I'm not an expert, but I've been growing for 6 seasons now, and I've learned a lot. And I truly believe the best way to learn is by trying. So give it a shot, grow some seeds indoors. Hopefully they grow up to be a nice transplant and you can get them outside. If they don't, you can try again next year. Alright, thank you for watching.